second step in having a successful program is selecting an AED. So you can see here there are 6 different approved manufacturers on the FDA that have AEDs on the market, and each one has different models, and no, not all AEDs are created equal. There are a variety of factors that you want to take into consideration when you're choosing an AED or when you're looking at the AEDs that you currently have. If you have AEDs that you've had for quite some time, they may be getting to their lifespan, they may be getting old, and they may get to a point where they will no longer work. We offer trade-in programs so that you could trade it in for a newer unit. All AEDs have different warranty periods, ranging anywhere from 5 to 10 years, so that in and of itself is a key consideration that you want to look at. The most important aspect is the reliability of the AED. If you buy an AED, when you go to use it, you want to make sure that it's going to work for you, right? So each one has different reliability factors. Each one shocks in a different manner. And when I speak about reliability, I also speak about the self-checking mechanisms that are in them. They all, they have the wonderful software in them that has the algorithm to determine whether a shock is needed. They also, part of the internal software, can and typically is a self-checking mechanism that goes through and does a self-check. Some do nightly checks, some do weekly checks, some do monthly checks, and some of those checks are checking for the presence of the electrodes and the batteries, which are both component parts that have capabilities of expiring. So you want to check on the self-checking mechanism within the AED and whether it's looking for presence and functionality and how often those self-checks are being done. You also want to look at the type of AED. When AEDs were when they first became available, they were for public access. They mimicked what was used in a hospital setting, which was a semi-automatic unit that required the user to push the button to deliver the shock. What they found over time doing repeated studies and such is that sometimes the user had negative effects from having actually pushed the button to deliver the shock, and there was more traumatic stress after the incidents and such. So the manufacturers developed automatic units, fully automatic units that are intended for public access that really remove the user out of the scenario and allow the AED to make the determination of whether a shock is needed or not and deliver the shock. As I mentioned earlier, they will not deliver a shock if it is not needed, and all AEDs give a countdown before the shock is delivered so that the rescuer can ensure that they're not in harm's way. Each of the different models also have the built-in voice prompts and can guide the user through CPR, which also is very useful. Even whether you're certified or not, if you're not using it on a day-to-day basis, you may forget the information, and so it's nice to be walked through that. You want to think about also the American Disabilities Act, the ADA compliance. Different models and manufacturers have different aspects that tend to that. Some have visual cues and some have auditory cues, and each one is slightly different. You want to look at the size of the AED, the weight of it, and the portability of it, depending on how you intend to use it. The smallest AED on the market is 2 pounds, 4 ounces. Really lightweight, and many of the AEDs come with accessories such as backpacks and things of that nature that can help you to carry it if you want to go backpacking across Europe and you want to take your AED with you. Also, water, dust, and impact resistance, if those are important features for you. Each AED has different parameters in that regard. And then the ease of use and the maintenance of the AED. And the ease of use when you go to use the AED in a rescue situation is going to be different based on each brand. And also the ease of use in regards to the maintenance. What's required for the ongoing maintenance to ensure that that AED is in rescue-ready condition when you need it. And many people express concerns about the liability, and are we liable, and does this put us in, I'd rather not have an AED program because I don't want to deal with the liability of it. It definitely does put you in a liable position if you're not maintaining it once you purchase it. So maintenance is another aspect. How hard is it to maintain? Each one is different. Each one has slightly different requirements in regards to what can be done and what should be done and how often. Again, another service that's provided, if you wanted to have a completely hands-off approach and not have to do any of it, not have your EMTs have to be responsible for it, you can hire out for that service as well, and know and have peace of mind that everything is in proper working order at all times and that your AED is going to be in rescue-ready condition. So as you can see, there are a lot of factors that need to be taken into consideration when you're choosing an AED. There are professionals available that can provide consultation to work with you directly to determine what's going to work best for you and your organization. And you really want to pick what's most important to you of those factors and use that in your consideration when you're choosing an AED.